My roommate tried to kick me out and now she's crying because I took her to court. In September 2023, I, F30s, moved into a 3-bedroom house in LA and signed the lease with my roommate. We'll call her Sandy, F30s. We are both tenants on the lease, but Sandy is designated as the primary renter. The lease makes no mention of what that means or gives any special rights, and the landlord, we'll call her Judy, only wanted to communicate and receive payment via Sandy. This will be important later. There is a large room with an en-suite bathroom, a smaller room, and a detached outside room. Sandy decides the rent split will be $1,200/$1,000/$800 with me in the detached room paying $800 and her paying $1,000. But Sandy was unemployed at the time and struggling to make rent, so she comes to me and tells me that the rent split was unfair, that she made a mistake and priced my room too low, and it should be $1,200/$900/$900, so she'd pay less and I'd pay more. I was a fool and trusted her. I wanted to be a kind person and figured she'd be kind in return. Chat, I'm a fool. Up until July 2024, we had 2 subsequent subleasers living in the larger room, each paying $1,200. However, my best friend, we'll call her Mariah, F20s, was leaving a bad relationship and needed a place to live, so Mariah moved in July 2024. But before she moved in, she said she couldn't afford the $1,200 room, so Sandy's plan was that she would move into the large room. Mariah would move into her room, the smaller one. I'd stay where I was, and we'd each pay $1,000 because Sandy couldn't afford $1,200 either, though by this point she had gotten a job. I told her I didn't like this plan and offered her a $1,100/$1,000/$900 split. She refused. So I said I agree for now, but we'd renegotiate later. Mind you, we have no written contract on who pays what, just oral agreement. The thing about Sandy is we were friends at first, but over the months, many of her bad traits began to wear on me. I was determined to make the house happy, but by summer 2024, I just couldn't take it anymore. She constantly interrupted me. She made my girlfriend uncomfortable. She always tried to dominate every conversation. She made Mariah uncomfortable, etc. For example, one time she made lentil soup and really wanted me to try it. I said I was allergic to lentils, and for anyone else in the world that would be the end of it, but not for Sandy. She asked me what my allergic reaction was and said, "That's not that bad, just take a bite, then take a Benadryl." She really laid on the pressure me, and when she did things like this, she always acted sad or offended if I said no. One time, after my birthday, she asked me how old I was. I'm 100% sure she knew. Why she needed me to say it. I said, "I'm old now, haha." Most people would take that as a sign the other person doesn't want to answer, but not Sandy. She laid on the pressure. Her pressuring, her anxiety, her constant complaining about avoidant men, her constantly wanting to talk my ear off got to me, and I began distancing myself. I just kept convos short and tried to interact with her as little as possible. I felt bad, so in November 2024 I sent her a text explaining my distance. I said things like, "This is hard for me to say, and I think you have a good heart, but..." I mentioned the interrupting and her making me feel uncomfortable, and I said we were gonna work through this and it would be okay. And when we met about it, she seemed receptive. She talked about going to therapy, and we hugged. But after a few weeks, when she didn't attempt any changes, I stayed distant, and she got impatient and texted me saying I made the house uncomfortable and need to stop being distant and fix this. She blamed me for her loneliness. At Christmas, the 3 of us went to buy a Christmas tree, and she again dominated the whole ordeal, interrupted me countless times, and couldn't even pay for the tree, so I fronted her share. $50. I just walked around among the trees and stayed away from her. Mariah and I both got her a Christmas gift for Christmas. She got us nothing. For at least a week after Christmas, our gifts just sat there. She said nothing did nothing. On New Year's Eve, right before Mariah and I went out, she confronted me and said she wanted us to go into the new year on a good foot and said I needed to stop being distant. I got upset and said, "Then why haven't you paid me back the $50? Why have you ignored our gifts?" Here's where it gets juicy, chat. We began having meetings to bring peace to the house, and Mariah and I brought up the unfairness of the rent. Nothing was resolved. I texted her on January 14th saying, "We need to have another meet to handle the rent unfairness." On February 4th, after paying rent, Mariah and I get a text from Sandy saying that she will be taking over the lease in April as the sole tenant and that we need to find a new place to live. I got an email from Judy, the landlord, mentioning that her and Sandy had a conversation on January 28th and that Judy was terminating the month-to-month lease. I sent an email to Judy saying I didn't agree to this, had no idea it was happening, and would be happy to sign a new lease. Judy said she was going ahead with the lease termination and cited a clause in the lease giving her the right to do it. So I went into hard for research mode. I found out that our property was LARSO, Rent Stabilization Ordinance, Protected and Judy would need a just cause to terminate the lease, even a month-to-month lease. I emailed this to Judy and she brushed it off. We had a meeting with Sandy and she said this was Judy's decision and she was gonna reapply after Judy canceled the lease. I suspected, however, that Sandy badmouthed me and Mariah to Judy and they conspired to kick us out. And I was right. I sent a stern email to Judy saying again that we are RSO protected and that she should seek legal counsel before proceeding as she may be breaking the law. I talked to a lawyer and he said she was breaking the law. So then Judy emailed back, canceling the termination and revealing the truth. Sandy requested the lease termination. Sandy texted the group apologizing for being dishonest. But now Judy is mad at me, claiming I threatened her and saying we violated the lease by not properly informing her of Mariah's sublease. Judy also refuses to let me pay her directly, instead of through Sandy, even though I explained nothing in the lease says I can't do that. This is harassment/retaliation, and I've filed several complaints with the LA Housing Department, and an investigator is assigned to my case. I told Sandy to cancel her request. She did. Then I told her there would be no peace in the house until she apologized for trying to kick us out and paid her fair share of the rent, $1,200. In addition to her being the largest room with en-suite bathroom, Sandy has 2 cats and a large dog. She's the only one with pets. She is the only one who using the parking spot. Mariah and I don't have cars. And of the $4,500 deposit I paid $3,000. She refused to apologize and refused to pay more. So I sent her an email saying I would take her to small claims to recoup the back rent for all the months I've been overpaying and she's been underpaying. I told her after what she did, she will no longer take advantage of us. She still refused and said she'd sue me for breach of contract if I didn't pay $1,000. Ha ha ha, we have no contract. So I filed a suit and my friend served her the next day. She cried on the porch telling me, this is so extreme. I texted saying I would withdraw the case if she agrees to pay her fair share. She hasn't responded. I signed up for the free mediation that the court offers for small claims cases. In the opening offer I said I'd drop it if she agrees to sign a contract stating who pays what, her fair share, and how to handle any rent increases. She has yet to join the mediation. Mind you, she has never argued the rent was fair. She only says it's what you agreed to and I can't afford more. I know I'm a fool, Chad, but would you say my roommate is entitled? Thanks for reading all this.